Guys, Deluded Guna, YouTube's and Golo Kante. What's worse than seeing what is actually worse than seeing Arsenal get ripped? Like it's Wenger's silly comments after the game in relation to things that like just sometimes you just need to come out. Even though Pardew's crap, and Pardew, let's be honest, as crap as Wenger is, he's not in the same league. No disrespect to Pardew, but one thing I rate about Pardew, Big Sam, and especially the more English managers, from time to time they're honest. They will say we played crap. They will say we're not good enough, etc. Wenger refused to dig out the players when he was pressed on several questions. You can go and look at his post-match comments yourself. I'm not going to dig them out, dig into all of them. But one thing I will speak about is some of the comments. They really got me. Like, they asked him, he was pressed by the press people, ironically pressed by the press people, about Jesus, pardon me, about his slow starts to games, about our slow start to football matches. We've seen it several times. We start slow, or last year it was starting well and just not scoring. This year it's starting slow. He blamed it on heavy legs, on fatigue, and clearly, I mean, Wenger. In fact, I lied. It did happen last year. Wenger, what are you talking about? Heavy legs. You can't keep using the fact that we play twice in a week as an excuse. We've known this for several years. Like, you can't. That's another reason you're showing your stale. Like, you've mentioned midweek games for a reason of us not being at it, and I know I know we're in Europa League and that, but it's not exactly the same. But a lot of our players, at least until what we're going to see in the week against AC Milan, a lot of our players only either played in the Premier League or the Europa League, so they're playing once a week. Do you guys remember a while ago Wenger saying playing once a week will actually help us because the other teams are playing in the Champions League? And if you look at the two previous title winners, I think it was Chelsea and Leicester at the time, they weren't in the Champions League. So you're saying all of this, you would think you'd see a bit more. How, arguably, you haven't been in the Champions League and you've got worse. Like, how do you manage that? How do you manage that? It really doesn't make sense. The only truthful thing you said is, well, not really truthful. You played coy on the top four chances. You said we need a miracle. We need two teams to mess up, which is true. We got ourselves in this. But you also said Europa League is very important. And it's funny you should mention Europa League being important, because so is the league. So is some sort of pride in performances. And one thing that I have a hard time dealing with, you play on Sunday and then you play on Thursday. You're making a big issue of fatigue and all of these things. Fair enough. City, we played City on Thursday and then we played on the Sunday, but they're professional footballers. Why do they do pre-season? Why do they do heavily fitness training things? They get rest days. They get all of these rehab things to help them. So that's a cop-out. They're professional footballers, and more so than not, look at these. We live in times where these footballers are at the top of their mental, physical game away from football, because they do things away from football that can help them. So if they're the most best athletes the football era has seen, I'm not gonna take that as a cop-out. I mean, that's a cop-out. I'm really not gonna have that. Are you gonna say the same thing against AC Milan and then Watford on Sunday next week? Like, it's nonsense. Like, okay, just to human. Like, they probably did something like this. Thursday, okay, we played late. They had Friday off. Saturday, they trained. Maybe whether it was light, whether it's tactics, I don't know. But you still have enough time. You don't become mad unfit because of one game. They have enough time to sleep and rest and all of these things. Look at City. I would love to see how much minutes Kevin and all of these guys have played, because they've been playing in Europa League. Champions League, League Cup until it finished, FA Cup until they went out, and obviously the Premier League. They're not using that as an excuse. It's really nonsense. Like, you mentioned confidence again. I get that. We're at the stage now. You're not going to step down, so it's not going to be a thing where another manager inspires the team. So we've got to play ourselves out of this confidence. And one way you could do that is by playing guys that are galvanised. Shout out to Eddie Nketiah. We didn't get the result, and he didn't really have the best of games or have the impact he had against Norwich. But it's nice to see him play. Speaking of him, why not play some young players? Now, I know there'll be fans out there that will say, why are you playing them? But young players, they want to get into the side. They want to play in the Premier League. They want to show they can do. They'll inspire. It would be something for the fans to get behind. It's someone with a point to prove. The fans are dying to see someone just chase lost causes and things like that. The likes of Reece Nelson, etc., etc. They can't play any badly than Wells, Mkhitaryan, and all of these guys. And to be honest, young players have that fearless approach, so you don't know what you could get from them. Times of tragedy is where you need to switch things up, to be honest with you. Whether it's dropping players that never thought they'd be dropped and things like that. I mean, Chambers ironically said we want to fight, we keep fighting. But bro, there's no fight in this club. Like, there's no fight. That Middlesbrough side had more, like, he was on loan that last year, had more fight than this club. It's nonsense. He's also, and again, back to that Milan stuff, like, we're playing on Sunday and then we're playing on Thursday. You made out that Ramsey's injured. Like, whether Ramsey's injured, whether you're actually trying to rest him or it's in relation to him being a snitch or a rat stuff, I'll never know. But you said you had him in mind. You said you didn't want him to have a setback. You said you didn't want Wells to have a setback. And I get that Wells, he's got problems with his knees and things, and I'm not a doctor, but Wells hasn't really played that much football. You'd think Wells would be relishing every minute he'd get. I mean, it's only at Arsenal that we do this. You're seeing Salah, you're seeing all of these players at other clubs play week in, week out and not excuse and not talk nonsense. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, this can ultimately be served as people as this is a lesson to retire before the game retires you. Like, you're stuck here in 2018, still blaming refs, still blaming schedules rather than adapting. And you clearly, for me, I look at it anyway. You know you can't do it. That's why you mash up the squad enough so it looks like you have to stay. And that's why you do certain things. Like, you still believe you can turn it around. It's admirable that someone still has that self-belief. But, Jesus, dying, man. Someone has that self-belief, but you gotta know when to call it a day. Like, you gotta know when to call it a day. Now, seen him linked with Everton and them things there. Like, go do your thing, man. And I'll be rooting for you all the way. So yeah, I don't think there's any much more to be said on that front, man. Oh, you also said about the game, the damage was done in the first half because we struggled to find our legs, whatever that means. We struggled with confidence. You could see that there was a combination of these two factors. After that, we still gave everything in the second half, and unfortunately, we couldn't find the goal. I just thought I'd tell you guys, I'm not even going to get into that, but that is something you've heard time and time again this season, and it definitely lasts. Guys, Deluded Gooner, YouTube's N'Golo Kante. Get in the comments, subscribe, and do the rest. I'm out.